Nope.
Number 1. I was home visiting my parents for break over Christmas/New Year's. They kinda live in the middle of nowhere with forests on both sides of them and only one neighbor to the right and one across the street. The other lots are all undeveloped. The way they have their house set up is they have a garage that faces the woods. Then the garage leads to a laundry room, which leads into the kitchen. On New Year's Eve, I was sick, so I decided to stay home and watch movies instead of going out. My parents went to their next door neighbor's house, which left me alone with their 2 boxer dogs. Me, being the masochist that I am, turn off all the lights and try to find the scariest movie I can on Netflix. While I'm sitting there, about 30 minutes into my movie, and cuddled up with one of the dogs, I hear the laundry room door click like it was being opened and slowly swing shut. Especially when my mom leaves the house, because one of the dogs always opens the door to wait for my mom to get back and then ends up getting trapped in the laundry room. So I go to check on it and let my dog out of the laundry room when I realize that my dog isn't there. I still assume that it just had something to do with the AC turning on and making the door slightly open, then close. I shut it tight so it can't do it again, and then head back to the couch with my dog to continue watching the movie. About 10 minutes go by and I hear it again. So I go out there and the door is open again. I shut the door, thinking maybe I just didn't pull it as tight as I thought I did last time and it popped open again. But this time I lean my body weight against it so it won't happen again and scare me. I head back to the couch and put the movie back on. About 10 minutes or so later, I hear the door click again. This time I'm completely freaked out because there is no way it's opening unless someone is actually doing it. So I turn on all the lights, grab the dog leashes and get ready to go next door and hang out there to tell my parents what happened or ask them if they were the ones that were doing it trying to scare me. As I'm getting ready to walk out the door, I get a text from my neighbor across the street, who was an old high school friend of mine. He asked me if I was sneaking people into the house. When I said no and asked why, he told me that he happened to be walking by his window when he saw someone go from the woods into my garage. He said that he saw it happen a couple more times and assumed I was just having a few different people over. He said he saw it happen again and just thought he would ask. I flip out, lock the doors, call the cops, and then my parents. The cops never found anyone, and nothing was missing or broken. So who knows? At any rate, creepy person or people trying to scare me or prank me, please, let's not meet. Number 2. New Year's Eve went off without a hitch, and I'd say it was a great success at work. I work as a bartender at a popular bar/club/restaurant, and I knew I'd make bank, despite wishing I was out with friends. As a poor college student, this cash would definitely help me out. There is a shortcut I usually take when I get out of work late. It takes you through the back of the strip where my bar is and leads you to the townhouse complex where my roommates and I live. They were outside the city, partying. As I was walking back, I saw 2 men sitting on the curb smoking. There are a few other restaurants located in the vicinity of my bar, so I figured they were just closing up there and taking a little break. I didn't make eye contact and walked along, but paid close attention to them. And then I heard,
"Hey baby, I'd love to have a piece of that ass,"
directly behind me. Turning around, I saw that both the guys have gotten up and were a short distance behind me, walking towards my direction. They were laughing and making lewd comments to me.
"Come on baby, we'll take care of you tonight. It's not safe for a pretty thing like you to be walking around this late. Do you need a ride? Oh, we'll give you a ride, all right."
I was absolutely terrified, and I knew I had to get away. The entrance to my complex was coming up, but I was terrified they would follow me into my house. Now, as soon as you enter the complex, the dumpsters are to your left. You will essentially open the door and discard your trash in the bin. Knowing this, I came up with a plan. Though I picked up the pace, I could hear their footsteps growing closer. They were still a distance behind me, but were laughing and talking about how the night is young. It was then that I decided that I have only one chance to get away. I took off in a run, darted left in my complex, opened the door to the dumpsters and threw myself in, grabbing the door and slowly closing it so I did not make any noise. I was surrounded by empty cartons of milk and sat in complete filth. There are little holes and spaces through the dumpster in which you can see outside. I found this out the hard way, obviously. I saw the men running past me while cursing and hollering,
"Come on out, bitch. We won't hurt ya."
One of the guys turned around to face the dumpster and reached into his jacket to pull out a knife.
"Forget it, man. We'll pick up another bitch. She could be anywhere."
You cannot possibly fathom the relief I felt when I saw them turn around and leave the complex. I sure as hell did not get out though, fearing that they were waiting right past the entrance. I pulled out my cell phone and called the police right then and there, telling the dispatcher that I am hiding in a dumpster. They pulled in 5 minutes later, though 5 minutes felt like an eternity. They said I did the right thing by staying inside until they showed up. I gave them a description and prayed that these two were caught as soon as physically possible. Today, I'm enrolled in an MMA class and will arm myself anytime I go out. Number 3. I was in the cadets program in Canada as a teenager. Given your regions, there is only so many people you'll run into, and chances are you'll overlap with people on training courses more than once. I went in for my full-bore Phase 2 course one summer, and there was this one guy, let's call him Kirk. Kirk seemed a bit odd, but was nice enough, so I talked to him a little. He was a bit awkward, homeschooled, little to no social skills, tall but not really strong or overweight, pretty average. Lived in a city about 4 or 5 hours away from my hometown. I was about the same size, 5'9", but I was also a bit stronger and tougher due to playing contact sports, living and working in a wilderness situation, and just being built differently. Over time, he began to develop feelings for a girl at the camp. She was really nice, and we were close friends at the time. She had social anxiety and had some bad things happen to her when she was younger, and as a result, she rarely trusted men and didn't date whatsoever. She told him off and said she wasn't interested, but in a nice way. But that didn't stop him. He kept sitting next to her and would get mad whenever her and I talked. It got to the point where she would sit at the end of the tables or benches and I'd sit next to her so he couldn't be close by. We couldn't do anything about it because he hadn't done anything to actually harass her other than not leaving her alone verbally. Other than that, he was more or less civil all the time. Then one night, he waited outside of her tent for her to get up and go to the bathroom. It was about 4 a.m. She got out of bed to use the washroom and he followed her in and started ranting about how she had to love him and that they were meant to be together and other things of that nature. He also made a few threats. The staff cadet on watch heard them and intervened. Kirk got a citation because the exact nature of what was being said couldn't be proven. The rest of the course was uneventful in that matter, and we went home just fine. Flash forward a few weeks, beginning of the school year. I get a cryptic email filled with threats and ranting on how I took her from me and how I had to pay for what I did to them. At the time, I didn't know who it was and assumed it was some kind of prank. I was a little freaked out at the time, and after receiving several more, decided to contact the police. But sadly, that went nowhere. I bought some mace and started carrying around my knife more often when I wasn't at school, changed my email, and eventually they stopped. Flash forward a few more months, in the spring of the next year. I befriend another girl, let's call her Julia. Julia is friendly, a bit quiet but approachable, and a bit on the smaller side. The time comes for a training expedition that all the cadets are required to attend in the region, and Kirk ended up being in my zone. Since Julia lives near me, she was also in that zone. I didn't think anything of it at the time, but they did end up being put in the same group, a group that I was not in. The weekend was uneventful, and we all went home just fine. I come to find out on the bus ride home that Kirk went from telling Julia on Friday night that he likes her to him attempting to kiss her before everyone left on Sunday. She was severely uninterested and had to make that quite apparent. At the time, Kirk was unaware of my affiliation with Julia. Flash forward to New Year's Eve that next winter. Kirk had been stalking Julia since the expedition. I had been at a party with Julia, and it was about 3 a.m. when I was walking her home. We're about 2 blocks from her house. The street isn't very well lit, and it's snowing cold and windy outside. I could see a figure on the curb just past where the house is. Given the bad weather, I noticed that as suspicious and wondered if someone was too drunk to walk themselves home. We decided to go see, just in case it was someone that was in distress, given the conditions. So, we get up close, and I say something. No response. I take off my scarf, lean in, and raise my voice to get their attention. No response. Julia suggests they may be asleep. I leaned in with my left hand and shake their shoulder. The person looks up, and we recognize him. Kirk? He sees me, takes a second, recognizes me, and then jumps up. We were all startled. We're standing there, looking at each other, unsure of what's going on. Just then, he reaches behind him. Alarm bells start ringing in my head. I step between him and Julia. He pulls out a box cutter from his back pocket, swings it forward with his left hand, and stabs me just below the ribcage on my right side. My right hand was still in my pocket, so I couldn't defend immediately. He stabbed me 4 more times and slashed the front of my coat before I was able to get my hand out and pull out the mace. Julia was screaming. People were waking up. I shove him back and begin spraying him in his exposed face. He began yelling and dropped the knife. I fell over and began losing blood. I remember Julia was crying, Kirk was screaming, and Julia's father came out to help. He attended to Kirk first because he was confused as to what was happening and assumed the screaming man was the one in trouble. I was trying to say something to Julia that felt immensely important at the time. I was terrified and thought I was dying. Shock set in, and I can't remember much clearly after that until I woke up in the hospital. I suffered some serious damage and was hospitalized for several weeks. Kirk broke down and admitted he planned on confronting Julia about his love for her, and the knife was his backup plan in case she said no. The emails I had received had been from him. He freaked out and attacked me when I showed up because it was too much for him to process. All in all, the mace should have been easier for me to get, and my hand shouldn't have still been in my pocket at that stage. If I could do it again though, I'd still rather it be me that get hurt than Julia. I don't even want to think about what would have happened if I wasn't there. Kirk got the help he needed and hasn't done anything in that nature to date. Julia went into a depressive state in the following days, thinking that she was the cause, that I was going to die because of her, and blamed herself for the whole ordeal. This, combined with other stress in her life, led to her attempted suicide. That's what I woke up to and was a basket case for the week following until she was allowed to see me. And I can tell her to her face that it wasn't her fault. Her and I are still incredibly close friends, and I hope we always will be. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. If you did, be sure to hit that like button down below and subscribe for future content if you haven't done so already. At the time of this recording, the channel is only 30 subscribers away from hitting 3,000. Can we do it before 2017? I believe we can. Until next time, everybody, stay safe out there. I'll be seeing you in the next video.